Now, the weekend, gentlemen, we saw an absolutely epic, for me, it was an epic game. And I enjoy football like this. If you've watched the Terrace long enough, you've heard me say it before. I quite like the chess match games where the defending from both sides is amazing, where you barely get opportunities, where both teams are pragmatic at times. They're trying to suss each other out. And we got that yesterday. I thought it was an epic encounter where Arsenal in the end had that little bit more class than Manchester City. They grabbed the goal. They go joint top of the league with Tottenham and are actually at this point in a better place than they were. 2 points ahead of Man City as opposed to 1 at this stage last season. Rory, you got the prediction right, you'd win. You also predicted that Saliba would pocket Erling Haaland, and you did both of those things impeccably well. How proud were you of the performance, and what do you think the ramifications of this could be for your season?
Yeah, massively proud. And I think the biggest thing it showed us was that there's maturity within this squad. And I know we've had a lot of abuse for saying that it's a young squad, that last season it was such a young squad, but there was a maturity yesterday in the way that we played. And I think it's just a massive confidence boost. It's a massive, there was this chip on our shoulder, whatever, that we couldn't beat City, and we finally done it. And we did it comprehensively. We restricted Man City to the lowest number of shots they've had in a game under Pep Guardiola. And I think we deserve to win. So it wasn't like we, got lucky or got a decision go our way that shouldn't have done. If anything, it went the opposite way in that sense. And yeah, I think it's a good chance to kind of. It sounds weird to kickstart our season, but there's been a lot of talk about whether we're struggling, whether we look as good as we did last season. I think that's a result that shows that we can go toe to toe with City again this season. So yeah.
I don't know how you can't say that's lucky. That wasn't lucky though. It took a deflection on the way through. That was lucky.
I don't think that's luck. I think you earned that.
Come
luck.
on, Rory.
We had more shots. We had more shots on target. You should have been down to 10 men. We restricted you. We restricted Erling Haaland to 0 XG. Do you
just say you're buzzing about the win, but you don't have to say it wasn't lucky. It was lucky. Clearly, it was lucky. It took a deflection.
I think it was going top bins anyway. But look, it's by the by. We deserve to win. We did win. And I don't think City fans know how to handle defeat. It's been quite salty over the last few hours. So yeah,
I didn't used to it, bro.
Well, I was about to say, like, you obviously Pep's interview after the game. You had Carl Walker kicking off with the set piece coach, Lucky talk, obviously the likes of Lewis and everything else. Yeah, there does seem to be a bit of bitterness, Lewis, from City fans towards this defeat. Is it because you're not used to losing? Is it because it was Arsenal?
I don't know why City fans are bitter, if they are bitter, because I'm not bitter. You know what I mean? I'm holding the L. I'll take the L. I didn't think Arsenal deserved to win the game at all. I thought a draw was a fair result. But yeah, listen, it's early on in the season, match day 8. I'm not in panic mode at all, man. I'm not in panic mode at all. I thought defensively we were sound. Rory talks about, Arsenal stopping us from creating much, but we stopped Arsenal from creating anything really. They didn't really have too much to create either. For City, the only issue for us is lack of creativity again. 2 games in a row now in the Premier League. Wolves away, didn't create nothing. Arsenal away, didn't create nothing. I thought a draw was a fair result. Thought it was an interesting tactical battle. I think both teams didn't want to lose. But yeah, listen, I'm pretty calm, to be honest with you.
That was what cost you, I think. I think you showed us too much respect in the first 25 minutes. I thought that first 25 minutes, we looked shaky, we looked nervous, we looked like a team that kind of felt like we can't beat Man City. And I thought you showed us too much respect. I thought tactically you could have gone for the kill, and you could have buried us within that first 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, you didn't really go for it, which was it kind of led to that maybe.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think City maybe did show a little bit too much respect to Arsenal. I don't know whether City were almost a little bit shocked early on at like how much of the ball we had. Maybe they thought Arsenal was going to come out the traps and they didn't. City had the ball. Maybe they were like, didn't expect that, so didn't really have a game plan for it. But yeah, listen, our midfield was seriously poor again without Rodri. We seriously missed that guy. Luckily, he's back now, but it's cost us massively because we've lost 6 points since he's been gone. But yeah, like I say, on the whole, didn't think we deserved to lose. Thought a draw was a fair result. But yeah, the 2 best teams in the country, and Yeah, we just have to take the L and move on.
Why are City, like panel to answer this as well? Why are City struggling to, in his words, create? For me, I see it more as they're struggling to finish their chances because I thought against Wolves you had an abundance of opportunity to score. But why are City struggling? And it is struggling. 3 domestic defeats on the bounce. Is this just a case of Rodri being missing, or is there a lack of motivation? Is this team, maybe getting a little bit? I'm not saying too big for its boots. There was a video of Haaland that I've seen where they asked him, have they done anything specific to be able to beat Arsenal? And he sort of said, no, we don't really focus on that. Is there a bit of arrogance? Is there a little bit of the hunger's gone because they did a treble, or is this just a really bad little?
I'll answer that first, and then maybe the panel can come in. But no, I think the problem is simply our midfield just can't create nothing. Kovacic doesn't create nothing. There's a myth going round that Bernardo Silva creates stuff because he's called Bernardo Silva, he's from Portugal. He's not a creator. Look at his numbers. He doesn't really create. That's not his game. He creates a bit when he's out on the wide right, but other than that, when he's in the middle, that's not really his bag. And then you've got Alvarez and Foden, who against Arsenal played very narrow, and Pep Guardiola explained it after the game because he wanted to pack out that midfield because obviously we were worried about Arsenal's midfield. And then it just gets very, very narrow. Hence why Gvardiol was one of our most creative players out on the left-hand side. He got all the space. So effectively, one of your most creative players is a centre-back, Gvardiol. And that's why we weren't creating. And that was pretty much exactly the same thing against Wolves, other than the fact that we did have Doku who tried. But listen, I think the whole thing changes when Rodri comes back into the side. He's a goal threat himself. He creates chances himself. And it should help push the team up a little bit. John Stones is back as well. That's great. We can really push teams forward. It's not ideal. I don't think it's like a crisis we're in. I just think it probably shows what it does do. It probably highlights how difficult the season could be if Rodri sustains a serious injury. Because without him in the team, we just
it's scary.
I don't think we have like an idea of how to play because now Gundogan's gone. Because when Gundogan was here, Gundogan could just play in the 6, like we did against United when we beat him 6-3 last year. But without him, we've not got that. And I think if Rodri got a serious injury, oh hell no, that.
I mean, Kovacic has already failed his audition for being a stand-in for that role. I thought one of the key aspects of being a DM at a top team is your calmness, your composure, and his head. I don't care how he stayed on that football pitch yesterday. That was another massive game in the Premier League marred by awful refereeing. I think with City, I've said it now for a while, I think they just go through spells where they create the wrong chances and the chances don't fall to the right people. And maybe the build-ups are, slightly wrong. The wrong players are getting the ball in the key areas. When Haaland's getting 0.00 XG, part of that will be on him. But a lot of it, it's not like City think Haaland's this drop-deep creator. They know what he is. They're just not creating the right chances for him for whatever reason. When they're able to get the security of Rodri back at the base of their midfield, everything pushes up again. I think right now, as well with City, there's a bit of a sort of teething period for a number of the new signings. You've got Mateus Nunes. I know Doku's had the bright start, but there's still a lot to come with him. Obviously, Mateo Kovacic as well. And then what does that do for the players who were so important last year, like Jack Grealish? Obviously, I know he's had an injury for now, but are we then moving Jeremy Doku to the right? I think one of the players that Man City might be missing a little bit more than I think it's been on the radar. Mahrez always turned up in games like this. I felt he was always a threat in terms of his creativity. He could always size up a fullback and take them on, and losing that, I think it's hurt them a little bit more than has been let on. I don't think it's, Man City are not going to win the title. Man City are going to have an off-season. No, they'll sort it out. Pep Guardiola will sort it out. He'll find a way. Probably Kovacic will end up playing false nine or something, and that's the new tactical evolution that kicks them on or something like it is every year. But they do have to solve these issues because it's frightening how average they look without Rodri. That is a terrifying prospect, and I made a joke about it. He should get if that's what Man City look like without Rodri, give him the Ballon d'Or because that team won a treble with him, and they look mid-table at best without him. So what's that telling you? Just how important he is. But I don't think it's crisis mode or it's a lack of motivation or anything.
Nah.
I think it's just teething
Bro,
problems.
it cannot be crisis. Even if they don't win the league, they just want a treble. Who cares? Like, just move on. Like, just these players. Doku will be all right. Alvarez will be better. Haaland will be better. It's not. I don't think after a treble winning season, unless you're out of the Champions League completely, like Man City find themselves like 5th or 6th, that's when crisis mode. They're still going to top the group. They're going to go far in the Champions League. They will challenge for the title. Win or not win it, that's on Pep. But I thought yesterday Pep got it wrong. People just don't want to say that because he's the greatest manager of this generation. He completely got it wrong. Offensively, defensively, Man City always look solid. They always don't concede 2 or 3, right? They don't. But offensively, when Arsenal had the ball last year, Haaland was able to bring the ball down. Kevin De Bruyne was running past him. There was players playing off him. Yesterday, Foden and Alvarez were non-existent. Even when they were trying to play Haaland, nobody was around. It was so isolated, very easy to mark. Either on Pep, either on Haaland, there was no width. He could have played Doku and gave Arsenal something to think about, but instead of playing...
Yeah, but then he opens up the midfield.
But yes, I get what you're saying, Lewis. But Arsenal had nothing to think about offensively from your side. Not at all.
And they also got really limited. They also got seriously limited when they went forward.
I disagree, though.
What do you mean?
This is what me and you
we had a higher XG than them.
So it's not that. It's for me. I say Arsenal got into good. How many times we saw Gabriel Jesus dragging Gavardiol all the way to the line when Gavardiol had to
what
work
did you do with it?
But that's the point.
What do you mean?
This is getting in good positions. Arsenal, if Arsenal play full team Man City, you wouldn't even be in that position. You'd be harmless. You would be harmless. Arsenal weren't harmless yesterday. They had 12 shots. You can say it's off target, yes, but that means off target means the player shot the ball, but they got into the position to shoot the ball. You want to get one-on-one?
Were of low quality, as proved by the XG. If we would have done yesterday what you say, we would have got smashed. Because our midfield would have got ran through. You wanted what? Kovacic at the base of midfield and then Foden and Alvarez in the middle. Doku left. That would have got destroyed.
I think just drop one of the midfielders or something. Drop Foden, play Doku on the line, put Foden on the line. There was many tactical things could have been done.
I look at the fact that John Stones and I know he's just come back from injury, and Mateus Nunes. Again, I just felt like with young Lewis and Silva in that midfield, very good technically. They just got overpowered by bigger men. They just got bullied by bigger men. And if you'd had bigger men out there who are both technical, again, we know how good John Stones was in central midfield last season. That could have been that way. Then you bring Doku into the situation to provide width, and I don't think you get destroyed in the middle. I think Pep has made mistakes in the way he approached yesterday, but I also think you have to credit that to what Arteta did. Yes, they were nervy in the opening 15, 20 minutes, but I think Pep and City expected Arsenal to do what they've done in the last 3 or 4 home games against you and come out and try and attack and be open. And they just turned around and went, no, we're gonna sit back and we're gonna commit to attacks, but not overcommit, and we're just gonna bide our time. And I understand the line of it was lucky. I looked at it as though I think Arsenal did deserve to win. I really did. This is the first time since 2010 that a team has reduced you to that few amount of shots. No one stopped. I've never seen anyone pocket Haaland like this. All those elements they nullified, but they got the game plan right. And I've said this many times. Klopp gets angry at this, and Pep's got angry at it before as well. When teams don't play a style of football that helps them win, we've seen those managers moan about it before, where they get annoyed. And what's always annoyed me is football fans talk about this. I want my manager to play our brand of football, no matter who he's against, no matter where it is, home or away. That only makes sense to me is if you're as good as Man City, if you're as good as peak Barcelona were, if you're one of the best teams in the world. Arteta, for me, I thought he was so smart yesterday because he went, you know what? We can't beat City doing that. We always lose. We've got to play different. And it made you guys change your game, and they grabbed the win. But I do think, I agree with Mo, you could have made some fundamental changes to the way you set up and really gone for it a little bit more, and you didn't, and you ended up losing. And look, no one's writing City off. I've seen the papers kind of do this today, and I think you guys are in a bit of bad form. But I am also shocked that just without Rodri, you guys can suddenly completely fall apart. With the amount of money, listen, my club has wasted loads. This isn't about point scoring, but this is just speaking facts. With the amount of money you guys have spent to not be able to win games without Rodri, is that horrendous management in your opinion of in terms of transfers? Because to not be able to win a game without Rodri, by the way, against Wolves included, like how can you have a squad that can't cope without one player?
Well, again, Wolves had one shot on target in the whole game and scored 2 goals. So, yesterday we would have got a 0-0 at the second best team in the country away from home if it wasn't for a deflected shot. I do think a little bit of like reality needs to just, come into the conversation a little bit. It's not like we've got smashed off 2 teams. To be honest, in my opinion, I think we should have got a draw against Wolves. I think we should have got a draw against Arsenal. I don't think we did enough to beat any of them, but I certainly don't think we did enough to get beat in any of the games either. So, yes, it's a concern, but what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to get a CDM that replaces Rodri because they're only going to play 15 games a season. So they're never going to be fully match fit when they come in for him. I think the way to go is the player that we already had, Gundogan, a player that can play in 6, but plays in the midfield. So then when Rodri gets injured, it's okay, I'm just going to drop you back into the 6. You're fully match fully match fit. And you can now move into the 6th position. No problems. We know you can do it. Bring another midfielder in. But obviously, we fucked up that one. That was a major error from the club. The club decided, because they went all out for Jude Bellingham, clearly decided whatever with Gundogan. By the time they offered Gundogan what he wanted, he'd already agreed to go to Barcelona.
Well, I think where you could be right, is you can understand now. I mean, you ended up pulling out because he chose Arsenal, but you can see now why Pep wanted Declan Rice. Because he can play in multiple midfield positions, including that role. And he was sensational yesterday. So, again, you could tell why you went for that. It's just interesting that you didn't go for an alternative player that can do that instead of going for Mateus Nunes, who clearly doesn't think can do that as he was started yesterday. So,
Terry, I don't understand the Nunes signing, to be honest with you. I think he's a decent player. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I just don't understand why we've sat. I think that was maybe a panic buy because where's he going to play? Is he not going to play 6? Obviously, yesterday was a great opportunity for him to play as a 6. Well, he's not going to get in ahead of Kovacic because I think Kovacic is adored by Pep Guardiola already. And then the other midfielder is going to be one of Foden, Alvarez, Bernardo, or Kevin. So, I don't really understand the new. I think that was probably a little bit of a panic buy, to be honest with you.
I think that's been I don't think the panic buy thing has been a trend, but in terms of like his attributes, I think it's been a trend of yours. So when I look at the players that you bought, Doku was a fantastic dribble out and ball carrier. Nunes, his main strengths when he was at Sporting Lisbon were ball carrying, ball progression, his dribbling skill. Kovacic, I'd say when he was at Chelsea, his best attribute was his dribbling, his close control, his ball progression. Gvardiol, really good defender, but he's also, one of the better ball progressors and dribblers out from the back. It seems like your main focus this window was trying to bring in dribblers, basically, and I just want to know how that's going to work with the rest of your squad when I don't think like Alvarez is a dribbler per se. I think he's more of a link-up player. I think Foden is a mixture of both, but I think he prefers the link-up. I think Kevin De Bruyne, a link-up player. Rodri, a link-up player. It seems like you're trying to move to a different way, but the key players in the squad are still in the other style. So I'm intrigued to see how that's going to work throughout the rest of the season. Are we going to see the likes of Mateus Nunes maybe take the spot of Bernardo Silva throughout the season when Pep decides he wants to go for more of this dribbling quality? Like I that's the part of your business that confused me. Why you went for so many players who have the same main attributes in terms of their ball progression and dribbling.
Yeah, well, look, I think the Doku signing is a great signing, and so is Gvardiol. I just think, and I think Kovacic at the price we paid is great. I just don't really understand the Nunes one. I think we needed someone who's more attack minded. I've not really seen too much of Nunes, to be honest with you. I didn't really watch him much at Wolves, and I didn't watch him at Sporting Lisbon. But if you look at his numbers, the guy's never really got like goals and assists. And I don't know. I just think the midfielders that we were looking at, it's a bit scattergun. You was looking at Jude Bellingham. Then it was also, I know for a fact we was in for Maddison, but by the time we wanted him, he'd already gone to Tottenham. Rice, we were too late, but he's more sort of a bit more defensive minded. Then Paqueta, who's more attack minded, and then Nunes, who's a bit more defensive / all rounder or whatever.
Then Eze, which is
Eze,
again,
I think we
another
was
guy.
interested in. Yeah, just a bit weird.